From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings LALATE.
It's a big Monday morning as your fourth stimulus heats up. The vice president is currently live, and I'll cut into that live feed as she pushes for fourth stimulus. The fourth stimulus package takes an interesting twist this week as the president has a series of bipartisan meetings today and more throughout the week. But on Thursday and Friday, he has a climate conference. And the number one word that kills bipartisan support and gets you to reconciliation for fourth stimulus is climate. Over the weekend, a series of Republicans proposed a counterproposal to the president, and it's not anything new. It's what they've said before. They're not going to do climate. They'll do something smaller. In this recording, I'll cut into that video from the vice president addressing the American people right now. I'll also go over that counterproposal that mirrors the prior counterproposal from the GOP. Notes climate, and a $600 to $800 billion bill is what they would do. It's not going to happen. The great news is that finally, fourth stimulus is a broadcast news front page story. They want to cover it, and millions of Americans want it. It's also the number one search story on broadcast media, reoccurring monthly stimulus checks. In this recording, I'll analyze the differences of the stimulus checks, whether you're a Senate member or a House member, how much they want to pay you, and how much money you can get. It could be the single biggest payday you've ever seen in the history of this channel for a single individual. We'll also go over the big surprising developments of the shuttered venue grant, which is shuttered. The grant is shuttered. Can you imagine? The toast is toasted and the butter is buttering, but also what's heating up is perhaps one of the most shocking developments ever in the history of professional sports. As a series of international sports teams break away to form a new league over the weekend, I'll explain what this means for you and American jobs and the American system of economics. It's a major development. It's one of the biggest things I have seen in nearly a generation. This is a major broadcast of Mornings LALATE. Good morning, everybody. The toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, and the vice president speaking. She's speaking about your fourth stimulus package, and I'll cut into that shortly. How are you? Having a great Monday morning? I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I had a lot of fun with you over the weekend. We had a lot of fun here. And I'm so excited for you to join me on today's programming schedule. Noontime, then afternoons, then evenings, and then late night. A new show every 2 hours. Very easy. Just catching me back in 2 hours. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also like this video. And if you're not become a member, the link's at the top of the chat and also the pinned comment. The breaking news starting this morning is that the Republicans offered yet another counterproposal, but it's the same we have heard since several weeks ago. The president today will have bipartisan meetings with Republicans, but the Republicans have made very clear they'll do infrastructure, they won't do climate. And in fact, a new series of reports say they won't even do the amount of infrastructure the president wants to do. So what's going to happen? It's very simple. By the end of this week, the president's going to be done with the bipartisan talks and off to reconciliation. And if it doesn't sound even more perfect, let me tell you this. On Thursday and Friday, the president holds an international climate conference. Yes. So he's going to introduce a series of major legislation internationally for climate on Thursday and Friday, signaling, I tried bipartisanship, it didn't work. Here's how important climate is. I have world leaders behind me. Away we go to reconciliation. What's important to know is that reconciliation is the process to get you this massive amount of stimulus checks. It's the biggest payout for stimulus since the history of this channel, now approaching 1 year. The stimulus amount would differ whether you're a House member or a Senate member. Let's go over the differences across the board. First, the senators want to give you a stimulus check from now to December, about 6 months of checks. The House members want to give you about 18 months of checks through the entire rest of this pandemic, which was about 6 more months, and then an additional year after that. It's about 18 checks for the House members versus the senators. But while this House plan may look like it's more lucrative, the House members will pay you more money up front. Let me explain that in a second. Who are the players? Well, the House members are progressives, and the senators are elder statesmen. They are the movers and shakers of the Democratic Party. And then we get to the money at issue. The House members want to pay you $1,000 per check over 18 months, $18,000. The senators want to pay you a larger amount over a shorter period of time. They don't tell us the amount, but word on the street is the senators want to pay you $2,000 a month or $1,400 a month, which would amount to about $12,000. It's $12,000 for senators over 6 months approximately versus $18,000 over 18 months for House members. Here's what you need to know, is that the president today will be having more members of Congress who are GOP leaders, or leader, maybe he's just going to invite one, to come in and talk about his $2 trillion bill. But over the weekend, they said they're not doing it. And they've said this before. So when is he going to wake up and realize they don't want to do it? Senator John Cornyn, Republican out of Texas, said that he'll do $800 billion. He said that yesterday. This is a core infrastructure bill that we could pass with appropriate pay-fors for roads and bridges. I think we could agree upon $800 billion. Maybe he could, but the president's not doing $800 billion. And then the president saw other statements from other Republicans yesterday and today, like Shelley Moore Capito, Republican out of West Virginia, said, I'll do $600 billion. Let me explain what's going on. The president has three parts to his bill: infrastructure, which is roads, bridges, highways, water, and then second, climate, which is greenhouse and stuff like that, and then third, taxes. The Republicans don't want to give a penny for climate. And if to make it even more clear, this weekend said we're not doing anything for climate. And guess what? On the first one, infrastructure, we'll offer even less on that. So the president on infrastructure is not even getting complete agreement on how much money to do infrastructure. They want to water that down, and they're not even to climate. It's not going to happen. Here's the Republicans' counterproposals going into the new day. And these are mirroring almost what they have said for 3 weeks. They're not going to do the president's $2 trillion. They will move climate, which for the president is a deal breaker. It has to have climate in there. And they'll do $600 to $800 billion for everything, which is a deal breaker for the president as well. The vice president has just finished talking. So that was quick. She said, good morning, and how are you? Yeah. I'll have her video later in today's broadcast. So the interesting thing to understand is that reconciliation has to start, folks, and it has to start. But ironically, in a weird way, the president has it teed up beautifully for the end of this week, presuming this is what he's doing. He's going to do a few more chats for bipartisan optics today, tomorrow, and the next few days. He's going to have the vice president you just saw walk in, walk out, say, hi, how are you? Do the bill. They're not going to do the bill. And then he's going to say, you know what? You don't want to do anything. I'm going to go by reconciliation, and I'm going to show you how important climate is. When is he going to do that? Thursday. On Thursday, the president will hold a international conference about fossil fuel producers and clean water, air, chemicals, and protection of land and wildlife, and we'll discuss carbon emission reduction target and urge cooperation on climate crisis. That's a mouthful. That's why I'm reading from a script for that, because I can't even remember it. It's a mouthful. Thank you, feedingly inner dragon. I love my inner dragon. I love your inner dragon. I hope everyone's having a beautiful inner dragon Monday. So it's not particularly clear what all that climate is, but the president's going to talk about it on Thursday, Friday. And just the notion of those words causes the Republicans to say, no, we're not doing it. So it's important to understand the reconciliation process, because the reconciliation process has to start soon. The reconciliation process is a 2-month process. And the most important thing that you may see on that graphic about the big money at issue is the word July. Look at that word. They need to spend 2 months for reconciliation. It's a 2-step process. It's 2 bills, actually. First, a reconciliation procedural bill, House, Senate, President. Then back, the substantive bill, House, Senate, President. They got to do 2 bills. It takes 2 months. Well, look at that date. They got to get this going. What is the time frame? It takes about 2 months. Leader Schumer, Speaker Pelosi both have reaffirmed to the American people that the vote will be by July 4th. Well, July 4th, 2 months before that is May 4th. We're just starting upon that 2-month window. Got to start it very soon. And there we go. This is likely to be the last week of optics for bipartisanship, but Purple Power, you got to share this video and tag the elected officials. Get them to go to reconciliation, because reconciliation is the path. Now remember, when we're talking about this money, this is for you if you're on SSI and SSDI, Social Security and Rural Benefits. This is for you if you make less than $75,000 or $150,000 married couple. This is for you if you're adult dependent or child dependent. This is the single biggest payout you have seen of any money ever on this channel. It's huge. It's bigger than FPUC Retro. It's bigger than SSI and SSDI $2,400. It's bigger than Hazard Pay. It's a huge payout. And House members and senators both want you to have it. Some have been more vocal, some have been less vocal. I'll be going over how the path differs if you're looking at the House versus Senate path in a second. And the senators are a little bit going to be a lot more MacGyver-ish on this than other people. And I'll be covering that later in this video. But you need to know this is absolutely heating up. This is not going to happen. Reducing the fourth stimulus package by removing climate, not going to happen. So away we go to forced stimulus. Meantime, the day started with earnings reports. Interesting, Coca-Cola was among the companies that reported earnings today. Remember, the corporate earnings today that will determine the growth of this economy and how quickly we're rebounding. Today, United Airlines, IBM, and Coca-Cola are reporting. Coca-Cola came in, beat estimates, not a huge beat. Interesting. Ooh, very interesting. Coca-Cola was not a very large beat. I'll have more about United Airlines coming up in this broadcast, and all that, also that shocking developing detail about one of the most important changes of professional sports that impacts your jobs, your livelihood, your economy in the United States in a way we never saw possible. It is a major story, the change of the European soccer leagues. That's coming up late in this broadcast. It absolutely affects your bottom line. But the big surprising details was on Friday, Ron Wyden introduced a provision that is what we're likely to start seeing in the next 4 weeks. What's happening in the next 4 weeks? In the next 4 weeks, we're going to start to anticipate the expiration of first stimulus items. Under the first stimulus, there was a lot of items created, and the second stimulus continued them, the third stimulus continued them, but they're likely not to get continued. Stimulus checks are different because they're just one occurrence events. They do it, and then they do it again, and they do it again. But in the case of Let's Pay PUA, it's been extended. It's going to expire. They're not going to do it again. FPUC, they're not going to do it again. PEUC, they're not going to do it again. Rent eviction moratorium, mortgage forbearance. So you're going to see a lot of standalone bills to fix situations, because during times of crises, Americans find ways to fix things that need fixing. And among them is the unemployment system. And on Friday, Ron Wyden introduced an incredible provision that will provide a fix for people who are independent contractors, sole practitioners, gig workers. The idea is very simple. $6,000 per year. Yes. The idea is simple, that if you are a gig worker or a PUA type person right now, you're not going to have relief when PUA is gone, because UI, unemployment assistance from your state, doesn't cover you. Never has covered you. He doesn't think that's right. I agree. And so he has a fix. Wow. The fix is the following: $250 a week for up to 6 months per year. So let's say next year, as an electrician, you have a problem and you can't work for 4 months. He'll give you 4 months of income, 4 months of checks, 4 months of $250 a week. It's incredible. It'll come from the federal government. It's part of what you're going to see over the next few weeks on this channel of standalone items to fix your situation. Meantime, coming up in this broadcast is more clarity about what about those other standalone items, like the student loan debt forgiveness. What happened to that? And also what happened to the EIDL grant of $5,000, the remainder of your $10,000 grant, the shuttered venue grant. What happened to that? All big updates for that. I also have updates about the $3,600 for the children coming in July. And what if you're on SSI and SSDI and have a child? How do you ensure you get that money? I have all those details and more. And then a new shocking development about rent, mortgages, and utilities coming up right after this commercial break. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues later today as noontime heats up in 2 hours from now. Our new programming schedule is easy breezy to follow. A new show every 2 hours from now. After now is noon, then afternoons LA 2 hours from then. Lynn's nephew is in the hospital, she says in the live chat right now. Send her prayers for her nephew. Thank you for joining me on Mornings LA. Hope you're good and safe. Hope you had a beautiful weekend. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also like this video. And if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Whatever happened to that $50,000 student loan debt forgiveness? Remember, its executive order path got a major push 2 weeks ago when the president ordered his education secretary, Miguel Cardona, to prepare a deal memo. The deal memo is to say whether the president can forgive student loan debt by executive order. Obama did it, Trump did it. And what happened to that memo? Was it done? Sirloin claimed to have eaten it, but we don't know what happened to it. It was due last Friday, so I'm going to be on top of it. I've seen your tweets. You've been doing a great job. Tag Warren and tag Schumer saying, where is that letter from the education secretary? It was supposed to be done by now. The president has, over the weekend, been retracting and pulling back on a lot of different things, and this is one of the issues he needs to get to. It's the student loan debt forgiveness. Not dead, just no updates about it yet at the time of this recording. Meantime, really surprising details about rent, utilities, food, mortgage assistance, property owners assistance under third stimulus. A new report on Friday said that a lot of states have still not got to the money from the federal government. Excuse me, second stimulus, still have not got to the money from the federal government. Wow. In the case of Florida, they don't have the money. Not quite sure what's going on. As to third stimulus, the report said the money is going to land in early May. So, you know, I'll be tracking it with you, and the volunteers will be able to help you find it as well. Meantime, the president had promised a lot of things for businesses of business grants. And so what is the update for the business grants? Well, the shuttered venue grant is for venues that were shuttered during the pandemic. And guess what happened to the shuttered venue grant? It's shuttered. I'm not joking. The shuttered venue grant went live for about 10 seconds and then shuttered. So if you're a shuttered venue, the grant is also shuttered as well. SBA sent out an email on Friday saying, we're trying to get it unshuttered. We'll tell you when it's unshuttered. In the meantime, enjoy the drapes. It's not very clear what's going on. The $5,000 EIDL grant under the third stimulus package for new applicants has not gone live yet either. Not particularly clear what's going on for that as well. Danielle Hoffman, thank you for coming to Purple Hawk. Everyone welcome Danielle to the family. The grant to start a new business did not get into the third stimulus package. The PPP grant has been extended by executive order. And then the remainder of the $10,000 grant, viewers are starting getting paid that money. Watch for that email. It's not coming in order. And if you responded to it in February, they're locked in a vortex. Meantime, what is really heating up this week? What's heating up this week is really the excitement about forced stimulus. Forced stimulus would be the single biggest payout and paid day you've ever seen in the history of this channel. There's two paths to do it, and both paths end up in the vote-a-rama. The vote-a-rama in a Senate push. Here's what you need to know, as detailed yesterday on this channel. When looking at forced stimulus, it's going to be a little bit different than anything else that you've seen before. The only thing that'll look similar to, for purpose of forced stimulus, is a $10,200 tax-free of unemployment and the mortgage forbearance not being taxable. Remember when it became law? Yeah, you remember when it became law. You don't remember anything before that. Why? Because no one showed you anything before that. Not that broadcast media didn't show it to you, congressional leaders didn't show it to you. There's two paths to get fourth stimulus done. And here I want to show you where it's at issue. The president is not going to write the bill, and the president's not going to put stimulus checks in there. He's not opposed to them. He's just not putting them in there. He's going to tell at one point, hopefully by the end of this week, the Speaker of the House to start reconciliation, or they're going to tell him to start reconciliation. At that point, reconciliation bill will go to the House floor to vote. It has nothing in there but procedure. There's no substance in there. Then off to the Senate, vote, approved, off to the president, signs a law. At that point, the tow truck has passed over the finish line. There's nothing substantive in there. It's just a procedural bill. Next stop, back to the House. The truck goes back to the House to pick up the tow hitch. The tow hitch is step two, a second bill. A second bill. That's why it takes 2 months to do this. The second bill will add in there everything the president wants, and then anything else the speaker wants to add. Maybe money for a foreign country, maybe salary raises, maybe a new building down the street or a new freeway. Yeah, that's how it works. It's important to understand that there was a fascinating article released on Saturday that said one of the 100 people in the House who wrote a letter demanding monthly stimulus checks is one of Nancy Pelosi's closest allies, and that they keep their alliance secretive. It's House member Omar. So will Nancy Pelosi put in there those monthly stimulus checks when she's doing the bill on step two in the House? We shall see. It would be really quite fascinating. Now, here's what you need to know, is that ultimately, if she doesn't put it in there, it doesn't mean much of anything. Because ultimately, when it gets to the Senate, that's when the reconciliation heats up. The reconciliation part for the Senate of the vote-a-rama is a cloak and dagger, MacGyver-ish event. Before it occurs, you're not going to have a press briefing. You're not going to have a bill. You're not going to have a memo. You're not going to have a press appearance. You're literally going to hear nothing until the moment it's called for a vote. Why? Because these House members, these senators, that's the way they do it. They do it very circumvently because it's not a bill, it's an amendment. And second, they anticipate oppositions from Republicans, even counter bills that could derail theirs. So they're going to do it very secretively. The reason why I'm covering this is because I want you to know that when the president says reconciliation, or Speaker Pelosi says reconciliation, I don't want you to say, I don't see a stimulus check here. It's not going to be there at the start of the process. It's going to be slid in by cloak and dagger. That's what they do. They don't do a lot of grandstanding, and they slide it in at the 11th hour. And away you go. That monthly stimulus check would be the single biggest payout that you've ever seen on this History's channel. Let's go back again to that money at issue, and let's look and see how it would work. What's important to understand is that stimulus checks are not income. I always have to remind viewers, because there's always someone who asks, is this check income? Is this income against my benefits? No, it's not income. It's not a taxable item. If they got those checks out the door in July, then good. 6 months of checks. 6 months of checks. Look at this money. If they did for 6 months, $12,000. If they did for 6 months at $1,400, $8,400. The single biggest payout you ever see in the history of this channel. Meantime, yesterday, in what I can only describe as an event that I think I've seen in a generation, one of the most shocking developing events occurred yesterday that impacts your bottom line as an American in the United States for purposes of jobs, for purposes of the U.S. economy and our domestic product. What's at issue here? It's the way in which league sports and professional sports operate. You may not be a professional sport fan, or you may not even know anything about professional sports, but you certainly know about jobs, and you certainly know about money, and they encompass a very large part of this economy. Entire cities' economies are based upon professional sports. And this is how the economies of the United States currently work. Broadcast TV rights are owned for professional football by the league. and then the rights and the earnings of it are shared among the teams. In the case of television, they're owned by the individual teams. So one team owns the rights to their games, whereas another team owns the rights to their games. Hence, the most popular teams have the most popular rights. Well, what happened yesterday? I'm just dumbfounded by it. Yesterday, a European Super League was announced that would, in essence, rival the UEFA Champions League for professional soccer and cause a break that you have never seen in the history of professional sports. It may result in several players, or countless players, not being able to play in the World Cup, league sports, or even their national team, as several league organizers have come back and saying, we're not going to allow you to participate if you do participate in this. What happened was a series of teams, Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea, and Arsenal from England, and from Spain, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and in Italy, Juventus, AC Milan, and Inter Milan, established what's called the European Super League. They have formed the league and announced it on Sunday with its president as the head of Real Madrid. The concept at issue is an enormous amount of American dollars. $6 billion in debt is being financed by JP Morgan, and $4.2 billion is being spent on infrastructure, with 300 million euros being given to each of the teams to start. What's at issue? It's at issue is television broadcast rights. It's where the biggest teams, for the first time ever, will own their own broadcast TV rights. OMG. This is huge, folks, because it shows for the first time the implications of what can happen in America, where this many teams, and they think there's actually more, can literally get together, break apart, and say, you know what? We're not getting paid enough. We're the biggest of the biggest. We're going to redefine the industry, and we're going to establish it so we own the broadcast rights. And guess what? They're going to make more money in the short term than they've made in many, many years. This could signal the future of what could happen in the American system. In fact, British media is now calling this European sports turning into the US model of how to make money. Interesting. It could signal a real change for how we do things in America as well. I'll be following this story, which is far from over, including banishment of players from the World Cup and more. It is far from over in a shocking development in details. Meantime, let's go back to forced stimulus to wrap it up. Forced stimulus is heating up, whether you are looking at the House plan where you would get the monthly stimulus check smaller over a longer period of time, or the Senate plan. Ultimately, the big money at issue is the biggest payout. If you're on SSI or SSDI, this is you. If you are making less than $75,000, this is you. If you're a family of four, this is you. This is the single biggest payout. This is the single biggest payout. What you need to do, Purple Power, hashtag MSC, hashtag Purple Power. Take this video, tag your elected officials, senators and House members, Democrats. Say them, tell them, do it by reconciliation. Stop waiting around. The time is of the essence. The bill takes 2 months to do. A reconciliation, which is really two bills, as you heard in this video, takes 2 months to do. July is when, boy, it just conjures up bad memories, doesn't it? July is when those senators and those congressional leaders go on vacation. Remember what happened last July? FPUC expired. UI expired. A lot of things expired. They go on vacation from July to September. You want this bill done before then because you don't want them going on vacation. You want this bill done before July 4th. You want this bill to start reconciliation as soon as possible. So tag your elected officials with this video. Share this video and get the message out loud and clear. Meantime, I'm back with you in 2 hours from now. 2 hours, every hour upon the hour, there's another new show. Let's look at our schedule. You're currently watching Mornings LALATE. In 2 hours from now is Noon LALATE. And then the first afternoon to LALATE at 4 p.m. These are all Eastern Standard Time. If I have time, I will bring back another double dose of afternoons LALATE if I have time today. And then we go into evenings LALATE at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, followed by our humor broadcasts humor broadcasts of Javita Late and Sirloin at 10 p.m. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video. I see Gail in the room, and Linda, and then Sandy, and there's Jacqueline and Jenny, and CH1. And there is Chris and the Brooklyn Chevelle. How are you? If you've not liked this video, let's try to do 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 likes. Stay informed, stay focused, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcium VIP. And stay with LATE.